Hi, I wanted to talk about joy, bliss, and grief. Kundalini can bring us into states of rapture and bliss, especially as the downward flow begins and you're experiencing all the amrita, kind of that joy, pleasure states. And then as Kundalini also touches upon our history, we can experience a lot of grief and sorrow. Shame too, and grief can happen in many different ways, right? Grief for the experiences in which we had to live through. And then there's also the grief of dying and rebirth, right? Which is repeated over and over again and can be quite rapid during Kundalini awakening. It is learning how to be and allow the grief as our body releases through that, and also the fear of because Kundalini can be a roller coaster, and as you've reached this place where you've plateaued, right, and you're enjoying it, you're like, oh my god, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and suddenly another expansion comes through, or a quantum shift. And grief arises because we have to say goodbye to everything it feels that we have already created for us. Right? That safety, that knowing, that security, that comfort can all be dissipated in that instant as more consciousness and elevation comes in. And so grief can be a very deep, palpable sensation that our body is experiencing and releasing and allowing ourselves to be with. And at times it makes my heart hurt. I know it's funny saying my heart hurts about grief, right? I have grief about grief itself, because grief can be a very lonely experience, as many do not have the capacity and the internal resourcing and structures of knowing how to be with grief. And grief is usually done behind closed doors, alone. Grief also shows the vulnerability, the depth of how deep our hearts have been willing to love, right? And I feel that love and grief and joy all go hand in hand. And so there can be a lot of periods during Kundalini where it feels like you're in a never-ending grief process. And learning how to surf that. My little jam on grief. Sending you lots of love as you're traveling the path of Kundalini and awakening.